about something, and this is what I put together. It's going to be brief, and I didn't realize that 2 people would be following me with TED Talks. So, all right, so, whoa, back one. All right, so it's HALT, emotional mindfulness in the classroom. All right, just a brief bio so you know your source. So you're thinking, why should I listen to this guy? Some of you know me as a sub before I started full-time here, but I've been teaching since 2002 in Budapest, Hungary. Then when I got my master's, I was in New York City public schools in Chinatown. That was actually pretty fun. And then I taught for Baltimore City schools for 4 years, and then for a couple years in Vienna, Austria public schools. That's it. So, how do you feel right now? Everybody take your pulse. How do you feel? Are you HALT? Hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? It's okay. I can tell you, I'm getting video too. Thanks. I can tell you, I'm feeling pretty tired this time of year. It's okay. I see some shaking heads. It's okay to be honest. So, what's the purpose of this? Well, HALT is it's about being emotionally mindful when you're in the classroom. You're interacting with students. HALT is something that a friend of mine told me about when he was talking about interactions with, your spouse or boyfriend, girlfriend, whomever, your children. Look, we all get tired, we all get frustrated, sometimes it comes out. We get into these kind of argumentative situations, and it's good just to halt. Start to think like, well, why do you feel the way you do? Is it one of these things? Are you just really hungry and you didn't really eat enough for lunch, which happens to a lot of us? Are you just really tired because you were woken up the night before? So another thing that I thought about a lot when I was putting this together is the difference from last year to this year, and I feel like I've had a difference in kind of the number of times that I have to contact the office due to escalations of behavioral issues. And it's like, I'm not here to say I don't ever have any problems, because I definitely have some. But I feel like when I look back on last year, many of the problems that I had, I was probably instigating, I was causing. So, alright, so what are some strategies going on with this HALT thing? That's a strategy. What are some strategies to de-escalate things? Or what are some strategies to think about it before it happens and just not go down that path? That's kind of what I'm trying to get at. So one strategy is there's no need to hate. I basically put that up there because, we teach a lot of students. Many of them are beautiful people, enjoyable to be around and interact with, some not so much. I generally don't use the word hate because I don't really feel like I can ever say I hate someone or something. You really have to know something well to hate something, right? So I don't really go to hate. There are definitely some students that you have difficulty with. A lot of times when I try to approach them, I try to be extra nice. It sounds counterintuitive. With a student who's always trying you try to be extra nice to try to kind of keep them there. Anyway, give adequate time to move. I feel like that's something I've done differently this year from last year, that a lot of times I'd be on top of students, really kind of harping on them. So I try to give more space this year for them to move, get situated, go take some breaks. A lot of times I don't always do the first days of school thing where I'm there at the door when they come in nice. But what I will do is I will try to read their faces as they come in and greet them. Not always right at the door, but just to see where they're at, to see if that might cause some problems. And then Ms. Driscoll's tip is a lot of times when students are working, she's circling the room just to put little stars or smiley faces, or if some of you like stickers. I'm not really a stickers guy, but if that's your thing. Okay, I use the same. Ms. Driscoll. Alright, a couple more strategies here. So trying to just contact each of the students once during the period, just to kind of it lets them know that they're there, and you're touching base with them, even if it's just like a simple smile or hi, that's contact, right? A lot of times what I find that I'm doing is, I remember one of the trainings, it was talking about that we have to say sorry, and I find myself saying sorry a lot more this year, and often assuming in a situation that I'm wrong. So a lot of times if I have two students and they're talking while the instructions are happening or something, and then I'll like kind of go over to them and be like, hey, what are you guys doing? And they're like, oh, we're just helping each other. And like, sometimes I think, well, probably not. But I still assume that they're being honest with me. Because otherwise you just go down a path of, if you assume the worst, then you're just always playing police and investigating. And that's tiring. If there are any issues, I ask students, hey, do you want to talk? Do you want to talk to me first, or do you want to go out in the hall, or is there someone else you'd like to talk to? And then finally, it goes back to the original one of halt. If you get nothing else out of my TED Talk, just remember halt. All right? Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. All right, so your turn. How do you think you can apply or integrate this idea of halt into your classroom? How might thinking about halt for yourself, like thinking about you yourself as a teacher, help the classroom dynamic? Thinking about your own mental or emotional state, being emotionally mindful. How might thinking about halt for your students affect the classroom dynamic? Okay, you don't have to answer it. You can just think about it. All right, next slide. Any questions or comments for the good of the group? I took that from Ms. Reed. And thank you for listening.